The cameras might as well have been rolling even when they weren't. Because the drama between Rashida, Kirk, and Jasmine has reached a fever pitch. Fans have been whispering for years, piecing together rumors from social media posts, denials, and tense moments caught on reality TV. But what if I told you that behind those glamorous Instagram smiles and carefully edited scenes lies a truth so raw, so explosive, that even the cast themselves never wanted it aired? Tonight, that truth is coming out, and it's darker, messier, and far more complicated than anyone could have imagined. Imagine this: Rashida, the ever-composed boss chick, sitting alone in her boutique after hours. The lights are dim, her phone keeps buzzing, and her hands are shaking as she scrolls through messages she was never supposed to see. Messages that suggest Kirk, her husband of decades, has been hiding more than just a fling with Jasmine. And Jasmine, she's no longer the young woman cast as the villain. She's got her own story, her own receipts, and she's tired of being painted as the homewrecker. The energy has shifted. Now, it's Jasmine holding the cards, and Rashida doesn't know whether to fight her or join her. Meanwhile, cool, collected Kirk is cracking. For years, he's brushed off rumors with a smirk and a shrug, but this time, even he can't talk his way out of it. Too many people know too much. Too many secrets have slipped into the wrong hands. And as the whispers grow louder, as Instagram lives turn into confessions, as family members start choosing sides, the Frost household becomes ground zero for a scandal that threatens to blow apart not just a marriage, but an empire. Fans are already stunned. Screenshots are flying across Twitter, and the streets of Atlanta are buzzing with one question: whose side are you on? Because once the truth is revealed, nothing in love and hip-hop Atlanta will ever be the same again. Atlanta had seen its fair share of chaos, but nothing compared to the quiet storm that was building behind closed doors. Rashida had long been the picture of strength, a woman who carried her family, her marriage, and her businesses on her back with pride, but even the strongest shoulders start to shake when the weight becomes unbearable. That night in her boutique, when the screens dimmed and the world outside slowed down, she stumbled across what could only be described as a betrayal layered deeper than anything she thought possible. Kirk, the man she had forgiven countless times before, the man she had stood beside while whispers of infidelity spread like wildfire, had managed to bury something darker, something that involved not only Jasmine but an entire web of lies that could collapse the Frost family name in an instant. Her hands trembled as she pressed her phone to her chest, replaying the same messages again and again, as if reading them one more time would change the reality. Jasmine was no stranger to the villain role. For years, she had endured the side-eyes, the accusations, the endless narrative that she was the one tearing a marriage apart. But this time, she refused to remain silent. This time, she had evidence: screenshots, videos, voice recordings, receipts that could not be brushed aside. She had been painted as reckless, naive, and selfish, but Jasmine was ready to flip the script. Late-night Instagram lives became her weapon of choice, where she dropped hints without revealing the full picture, leaving fans in a frenzy. "Y'all think you know the truth," she whispered one evening, her face dimly lit by the glow of her phone screen. "But when the real story comes out, it's not just Kirk you'll be looking at differently. Everybody's about to be exposed." Within minutes, blogs picked up the clip, fans dissected her every word, and hashtags trended as though Atlanta itself had set fire. Kirk, for all his bravado, began to feel the walls closing in. He had always believed he could outmaneuver scandal, with a calm smirk and a few half-hearted apologies, but this was different. The pressure was relentless. Family members began calling, old friends kept their distance, and even business partners grew uneasy. In the studio one afternoon, surrounded by silence, Kirk slumped in his chair and muttered to himself, "They don't know the whole story, they can't know." But his voice cracked, betraying the fear he desperately tried to hide. His phone buzzed endlessly with missed calls from Rashida, but he let them ring out. Facing her was harder than facing the world, because deep down he knew she had reached the end of her patience. Meanwhile, Rashida's mother had caught wind of the rumors swirling around again, and her patience had worn thinner than her daughter's. "How many times, Rashida?" she demanded during a heated call. "How many times are you gonna let him make a fool out of you on national television, in front of everybody? Do you even see what this is doing to your kids? To your brand? You're strong, baby girl, but even strong women break when they keep carrying the same dead weight." Tears burned Rashida's eyes, but she refused to let her mother hear her break. She ended the call, sat in silence, and tried to imagine what her life would look like if she finally let go. But Jasmine wasn't about to sit back quietly. She reached out to a mutual friend, someone close enough to the Frost circle that the meeting itself would send shockwaves. "She needs to hear it from me," Jasmine said firmly, her voice steady. "I don't want to keep playing this game through the media. I want Rashida to look me in the eye and see that I'm not lying." Her friend warned her of the chaos this would unleash, but Jasmine was unmoved. She was tired of being called the other woman, tired of shouldering the blame for choices Kirk had made, and above all, tired of being silenced. The night of the confrontation was not planned, yet it felt inevitable. Rashida had walked into an upscale lounge to meet with business partners, only to find Jasmine seated across the room, her eyes fixed and unflinching. The air thickened. As whispers rose around them, phones lifted discreetly to capture the scene, and before long, the two women found themselves standing face to face. Rashida's voice, low but sharp, cut through the noise. "What do you want from me, Jasmine? Haven't you done enough?" Jasmine's eyes glistened, but her tone carried no apology. "I want the truth to finally come out. You think I enjoy being dragged by your fans? You think I don't get tired of my son being treated like he's some dirty little secret? Kirk lied to both of us, Rashida, and you can keep protecting him, or you can finally face what he's been hiding." The words stung, not because they were unexpected, but because Rashida could not deny the weight they carried. By the following morning, Atlanta blogs were ablaze. Grainy videos from the lounge circulated online, showing Rashida pointing a finger at Jasmine while security hovered nearby. Fans analyzed every second, debating whether the confrontation was staged or spontaneous, whether Rashida was finally ready to walk away, or whether she would once again shield her husband from the storm. Even castmates began chiming in. Carly Red, never one to resist a messy moment, hopped on Instagram Live with her signature grin. "Chilly, I told y'all, this Frost situation was about to explode. Y'all didn't want to believe me, but guess what? Boom, now we all seeing it play out." The comments section filled with fire emojis, broken heart emojis, and endless speculation. Behind the scenes, Kirk scrambled. He called Rashida repeatedly, left messages filled with desperation, but she refused to pick up. Instead, she locked herself in her boutique, her mind racing through every betrayal, every public embarrassment, and every sacrifice she had made for the sake of their marriage. For once, she allowed herself to imagine a life where she didn't have to fight for respect from the man who should have given it to her without question. But as soon as the thought brought a flicker of relief, fear replaced it. What would the world say if the Frost Empire collapsed? Would her fans still see her as the boss chick, or would they call her weak for finally walking away? The tension grew heavier when Rashida's son Carter overheard conversations he wasn't supposed to. "Oh, Mom, why are people saying Dad doesn't live here anymore?" he asked quietly, confusion clouding his young face. The question cut Rashida deeper than any gossip blog headline could. Protecting her children had always been her top priority, yet here they were, caught in the crossfire of scandals they never asked for. She hugged him tightly, whispering promises she wasn't sure she could keep, while her phone buzzed again, this time with a notification that made her blood run cold. Jasmine had just posted a cryptic story, a screenshot of a bank transfer, blurred names but clear enough to hint at financial ties Kirk had never confessed. The caption read, "Truth always comes to light." Fans erupted with speculation, dragging Kirk across every platform. Kirk realized then that silence was no longer an option. He needed to take control of the narrative before it destroyed him completely. He called for a private sit-down with Jasmine, hoping to reason with her, but word leaked to the press before they even arrived. Paparazzi swarmed the entrance of the restaurant, cameras flashing as if history was being made. When Rashida saw the images online, her husband dining with the very woman who had been the center of their turmoil, her chest tightened with rage. For once, she didn't cry. She didn't shout. Instead, she picked up her phone, dialed a trusted producer, and said calmly, "If they want a show, I'll give them one. Set up the cameras. It's time everybody hears my side." What happened next would change the Frost storyline forever. The cameras were barely set up when the drama kicked into high gear. Rashida walked onto the set with a calmness that fooled no one. Her outfit was flawless, her makeup unshaken, but her eyes betrayed the storm raging inside. Producers whispered among themselves, knowing they were about to capture television gold. Kirk sat in the corner, his arms crossed tightly, pretending he was unbothered while every muscle in his body screamed tension. Jasmine was the last to arrive, striding in with an unapologetic air that immediately drew the room's attention. She carried no shame, only determination. The triangle was complete, and the stage was set for the showdown fans had been begging for. "Let's cut to the chase," Rashida began, her voice steady but sharp as glass. "For years, I've been painted as the fool who looks the other way. I'm not about to sit here and let you to keep playing with my name, my marriage, and my family. So let's talk about the truth. Right here, right now." Gasps echoed from behind the cameras. Even the producers leaned closer, realizing they didn't need to orchestrate this scene. The fire was burning on its own. Jasmine leaned forward, locking eyes with Rashida. "You think I wanted this? You think I enjoy being dragged, called names, treated like I ain't got no worth? I didn't ask for this life, Rashida. Kirk brought me into this mess, and while you were busy defending him, he was out here promising me things he couldn't even deliver." She pulled out her phone, her thumb hovering over the screen. "You want the truth? I'll show you the truth." Kirk leaped from his chair, panic flashing across his face. "Jasmine, stop. You don't know what you're doing." His voice cracked, the cool facade slipping with every word. He reached for her phone, but Jasmine yanked it back, raising her chin defiantly. "No, Kirk, you don't get to silence me anymore. Not today." The room vibrated with tension, every pair of eyes glued to the unfolding chaos. Rashida shook her head slowly, her lips trembling though she forced them into a tight line. "You've been lying to both of us, smiling in my face, coming home to my kids, acting like nothing's wrong, and the whole time you've been sneaking around, making promises to her. You know what that makes you, Kirk, a coward. A man who can't stand in his truth." Her words cut deep, each syllable hitting like a slap. Kirk opened his mouth to respond, but the weight of the accusations silenced him. Jasmine's phone buzzed in her hand, and she smirked. "Oh, it's already out there. Screenshots, receipts, everything. You can keep trying to hide, Kirk, but the streets already know. The fans already know. And you," she turned back to Rashida, her voice softening just slightly, "you deserve to know too. I'm not your enemy, Rashida, he is." The shift in tone was almost disarming, leaving Rashida caught between fury and reluctant recognition. For years, she had seen Jasmine as the villain in her story. Now, in this moment, she wondered if the real villain had been sitting across from her all along. The producers were stunned into silence, their cameras capturing every second of this raw exchange. Social media lit up instantly as behind-the-scenes whispers leaked onto Twitter. Hashtags like #FrostFamilyMeltdown and #JasmineSpeaksTheTruth climbed the trending charts. Fans argued fiercely in the comments. Some dragged Jasmine for being messy, while others praised her for finally standing up and calling Kirk out. "This is bigger than reality TV," one fan tweeted. "This is a whole masterclass in betrayal and survival." Back in the studio, Kirk slammed his hand on the table, finally breaking his silence. "Y'all think you know everything, but you don't know what I've been through. I was trying to hold it all together for my kids, for my marriage, for my sanity. But none of y'all understand the pressure I've been under." His voice wavered, desperation seeping through. Rashida shot him a look that could freeze stone. "Pressure? You call sneaking around behind my back pressure? You call lying to me pressure? No, Kirk, that was your choice. And now you're about to lose everything because of it." The atmosphere grew so thick with emotion that even the crew began to whisper among themselves about whether to step in. But the producers, sensing the electricity of the moment, gestured for the cameras to keep rolling. This was history in the making, and they weren't about to cut it short. Jasmine leaned back, exhaling as if years of secrets were finally leaving her body. "You built your empire on lies, Kirk. And now it's crumbling right in front of you. I didn't break your marriage, you did that all by yourself." Her words echoed in the silence that followed, leaving Rashida staring at her husband with eyes that no longer carried love, only exhaustion. And just when it seemed the room couldn't handle any more, Rashida stood up, smoothed her dress, and whispered, "I'm done." The simplicity of her words carried more weight than any scream ever could. Kirk's head dropped, Jasmine's eyes widened, and the cameras captured the exact moment the Frost family saga took a turn no one could ever reverse. Outside the studio, the streets buzzed with rumors of divorce papers, custody battles, and hidden fortunes. Fans debated endlessly online, dissecting every gesture, every phrase, every possible outcome. And in the center of it all, Rashida, Kirk, and Jasmine stood on the edge of a truth that had finally clawed its way to the surface. leaving no one unscathed. The story wasn't over, it was only just beginning. The words hung in the air like a knife suspended over the table. "I'm done." It was the kind of phrase Rashida had said before in moments of anger, but never like this. Never with such finality, never with a voice that was stripped of both rage and heartbreak, leaving behind only cold certainty. Kirk sat frozen, his hands clenched on the table, as if gripping it would keep his entire life from sliding out of reach. Jasmine shifted in her seat, unsure if she should speak again or let the silence cut through the room. For once, even she looked unsettled, as though the reality of what she had set in motion was heavier than she expected. Rashida walked toward the exit, heels striking the floor with a steady rhythm that echoed like a countdown. The cameras followed, her Xing every angle of the woman who had built her brand on strength, now walking away from the man who had tested it one time too many. Producers whispered into their headsets, crew members exchanged stunned glances, and fans online refreshed their feeds every second for leaks from inside the set. When Rashida reached the door, she paused, turned back just enough to look Kirk in the eye, and said, "You can explain yourself to the world, but you'll never explain yourself to me again." Then she was gone. Kirk collapsed into his chair, burying his face in his hands. For a man who had always maintained his composure, even when confronted on national television, this was the first time the cracks showed for everyone to see. Jasmine leaned forward, her voice low but cutting. "You thought you could play both sides, Kirk, but now you don't have either of us." The line sent chills through the room, as if the entire saga had distilled into that single, brutal truth. By the next morning, Atlanta was ablaze. Every blog, every gossip page, every fan account had their own version of the story. Some clips from the confrontation leaked, showing Rashida storming out and Kirk burying his face. Headlines screamed about divorce filings, Jasmine's receipts, and rumors of hidden financial ties that Kirk had allegedly kept from his wife. TMZ-style pages claimed Rashida had already met with lawyers. Others insisted the whole thing was orchestrated for ratings. But no one could deny one thing: the Frost marriage was hanging by the thinnest of threads. At home, Rashida sat in her living room, scrolling through endless messages from friends, castmates, and strangers alike. Some begged her to finally leave Kirk, others applauded her strength, and a few warned her not to make rash decisions in the heat of the moment. Her mother showed up without warning, sitting beside her on the couch. "You see now, don't you?" she said softly, her hand on Rashida's knee. "I've been telling you for years. You can't fix what doesn't want to be fixed. He's not going to change. And if you don't put yourself first, you'll keep drowning while he keeps floating." Rashida's tears slid silently down her face. "I built my life around this man," she whispered. "My kids, my business, my brand, it's all tied to him. Walking away isn't just leaving a man, it's leaving a piece of myself." Her mother's eyes softened, but her tone remained firm. "Then it's time to build a new piece. You're stronger than you think, baby girl. And maybe now the world will finally see it." Meanwhile, Kirk sat alone in his car outside their house, too afraid to go inside. His phone rang endlessly, from producers, castmates, and even young Jock, who tried to inject humor into the chaos. "Man, you done messed up big this time," Jock said over the speakerphone. "You better figure out what you're gonna say, 'cause the whole city talking. And if you think you can just laugh it off like before, nah, this ain't that type of storm." Kirk muttered, "I just wanted to keep my family together." Jock sighed, his voice more serious than usual. "Nah, bro. You wanted to keep both your families. And now, you about to lose them all." Jasmine, on the other hand, wasn't retreating. She doubled down on social media, posting cryptic messages that fans devoured like breadcrumbs. A blurry photo of her child's backpack with the caption, "He deserves better." A screenshot of an email names blurred hinting at money transfers. Even a short video of her sitting in silence, sipping wine, with the words TikTok flashing across the screen. Every post sent fans into a frenzy, dissecting her every move, debating whether she was a victim finally standing tall or a manipulator basking in the chaos. The rest of the cast weighed in too. Carly Red posted a selfie with the caption, "Told y'all the tea was boiling." Bambi shared a quote about knowing your worth. Even Yandi chimed in from New York, saying during an interview, "When you're in the public eye, you can't keep sweeping things under the rug. The rug gets too lumpy, and eventually, you trip." Each comment added fuel to a fire already raging out of control. Behind the cameras, producers saw dollar signs. Meetings were called immediately to restructure the season around the Frost scandal. Contracts were reviewed, scenes were reshot, and suddenly the entire focus of the show shifted. Fans were promised the most explosive season yet, and from the looks of it, that was no exaggeration. But inside the Frost home, things weren't so glamorous. Carter, still too young to understand the full depth of the drama, kept asking questions that pierced Rashida's heart. "Mom, are you mad at Dad? Why don't you guys eat dinner together anymore?" Each innocent question pushed Rashida closer to her breaking point. Kirk, desperate to salvage what little he could, begged her to sit down with him, but she refused. "You had your chance, Kirk," she snapped one evening when he caught her in the kitchen. "Every time I chose you, I chose pain. I won't do it anymore." Kirk's desperation reached a boiling point when Jasmine released yet another bombshell. This time, it wasn't a cryptic hint. It was a full-blown video, Kirk sitting in a car, speaking to someone off-camera, admitting to payments, promises, and lies he had hidden from Rashida. The video spread like wildfire, cementing Jasmine's narrative and leaving Kirk no room to spin. His phone blew up with furious calls from Rashida, but he couldn't bring himself to answer. The scandal reached national outlets, spilling beyond the love and hip-hop fandom. Morning shows debated whether Rashida should leave. Bloggers speculated about Jasmine's motives. Fans filled forums with theories about secret children, hidden properties, and legal battles waiting to unfold. The Frost saga was no longer just reality TV, it was mainstream drama. And yet, despite the noise, the real battle was happening. In private, Rashida met with her lawyer, her face calm but her hands clenched. "I don't want to drag this out," she said. "I just want peace. But if he tries to play me in court, I'll burn it all down." The lawyer nodded, already preparing paperwork that would send shockwaves through Atlanta if filed. Back at his studio, Kirk sat in darkness, a bottle of liquor untouched beside him. He stared at the wall, muttering, "It wasn't supposed to be like this." For once, there was no smirk, no charm, no bravado. Just a man watching the empire he built collapse under the weight of his own choices. And Jasmine. She watched from her apartment balcony, the city lights glowing beneath her, her phone buzzing with endless notifications. For years, she had been dismissed, mocked, and vilified. Now, she was the center of it all. But even as she smiled faintly at her screen, a flicker of doubt crossed her face. Had she won? Or had she unleashed a war she could no longer control? The truth was out, but the fallout was only beginning. Atlanta was ready for round two. The lawyer's office smelled faintly of leather and old wood, the kind of place where deals were made and lives were quietly rewritten. Rashida sat across from a stack of neatly arranged documents, her eyes locked on the bold lettering at the top. Petition for divorce. She ran her fingers over the words, not yet ready to sign, but knowing that the act of simply sitting there had already changed her life. Her lawyer, a sharp woman with years of experience in celebrity cases, leaned forward. "You don't have to file today, but you need to be prepared. The moment this goes public, Kirk will fight back. He'll try to protect his assets, his image, maybe even turn the tables on you. Are you ready for that storm?" Rashida's lips tightened. "I've lived in the storm for years. This time, I'll be the one steering it." Back at the Frost house, Kirk finally mustered the courage to walk through the door. The silence was suffocating. No Rashida in sight, only the faint sound of cartoons echoing from the living room where Carter sat on the floor, his little face brightening when he saw his dad. "Daddy!" he shouted, running into Kirk's arms. For a brief moment, Kirk felt the weight of everything lift, but then Carter's innocent words landed like a dagger. "Mommy said you might not live here anymore." Kirk's chest tightened, his arms clinging to his son as if holding him could erase the reality of what was slipping away. "I'll always be here for you," he whispered, though even he didn't know if it was true. Meanwhile, Jasmine's phone never stopped buzzing. Blogs wanted interviews, fans demanded more proof, and even rival cast members reached out privately to get her side. She posted a single line on Instagram, "The truth is messy, but it's still the truth." Within minutes, comments poured in, some praising her bravery, others accusing her of being vindictive. She ignored the noise, focusing, instead, on her next move. She had more receipts tucked away, and she knew exactly when to release them. Timing was everything, and Jasmine had learned to master it. When the next episode of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta aired, the confrontation between the three exploded on screens across the country. The unedited footage showed Rashida's icy exit, Kirk's collapse, and Jasmine's damning words. Fans watched in disbelief, rewinding clips, dissecting body language, and flooding social media with reactions. Rashida finally done. One tweet screamed, "Jasmine eating him alive." Another declared, "Memes spread faster than the truth," but the impact was undeniable. The Frost storyline had taken over the entire show. Cast reactions rolled in almost immediately. Carly Red couldn't resist stirring the pot, going live the second the episode ended. "Y'all saw that, right? I've been telling y'all, the tea was hotter than y'all thought. And trust me, this is just the beginning." Her words sent fans into overdrive, convinced there was more drama waiting in the wings. Bambi posted a cryptic prayer hands emoji with the caption, "Some things you just can't come back from." Even Erica Mena, long removed from the Frost's drama, chimed in with a shady tweet, "A leopard never changes its spots." The fandom exploded with theories, alliances, and predictions about what would happen next. Behind the cameras, producers scrambled to contain the chaos while simultaneously feeding it. Emergency meetings were held, storylines rewritten, contracts renegotiated. One producer, overheard by a crew member, muttered, "This ain't reality TV anymore. This is Shakespeare with cameras." The network executives were thrilled, ratings were skyrocketing, but the people living inside the storm were breaking apart. In a rare move, Rashida agreed to a sit-down interview away from the set. The interviewer asked her point-blank if she was done with her marriage. Rashida's response was measured but heavy. "I've always believed in family. I've always believed in forgiveness. But there comes a point where forgiveness turns into self-destruction. And I won't destroy myself for anybody, not even for Kirk." The clip went viral within hours, cementing the image of a woman finally reclaiming her power. Kirk, however, was spiraling. He called Jock again, this time his voice cracking with desperation. "I can't lose everything, man. I built too much." Jock sighed heavily. "You built it on sand, Kirk. And sand don't hold when the tide comes in." The words stung, but Kirk knew Jock was right. Still, he refused to go down quietly. He arranged his own interview, hoping to spin the narrative. "People don't understand what it's like," he said, his tone a mix of defiance and vulnerability. "Everybody wanna judge, but they don't see the pressure, the temptations, the stress. I made mistakes, but I'm still human. I still love my wife." But fans weren't buying it. The comments under the clip were brutal, with many accusing him of playing victim after years of deceit. Jasmine, watching both interviews from her apartment, shook her head. To her, Kirk's words were nothing but damage control. She poured herself a glass of wine, scrolling through the flood of messages from fans who now saw her as a truth-teller rather than a villain. For once, the narrative was shifting in her favor, but the victory felt bittersweet. She looked at her son asleep in the next room and whispered to herself, "At least he'll know I never stayed silent." The next shock came when leaked court documents suggested Rashida had indeed met with lawyers about divorce proceedings. Though nothing had been filed officially, the mere hint of it was enough to send fans into a frenzy. Blogs ran with headlines, like "Rashida, finally done with Kirk and the end of the Frost Empire," while others speculated that the divorce storyline would dominate the next season. Rashida kept quiet, refusing to confirm or deny the rumors, which only fueled the speculation further. Behind closed doors, Kirk begged Rashida for one last chance. He showed up at her boutique unannounced, his face tired, his voice hoarse. "Don't let them win," he pleaded. "Don't let the world tear us apart." Rashida looked at him with eyes colder than he'd ever seen. "You tore us apart, Kirk. The world's just watching the pieces fall." Jasmine, emboldened by the public's shifting sympathy, dropped her biggest bombshell yet, a photo of herself sitting in what looked like Kirk's recording studio, with the caption, "Not everything happens at home." The image sent fans into chaos. Was it old? Was it recent? Had Kirk really been seeing her even while promising Rashida that things were over? The speculation was endless, and Kirk offered no comment, which only made him look guiltier. The Frost family saga had reached a boiling point. The truth had come out, but with it came more lies, more pain, and more fractures than anyone could have imagined. And as the cameras kept rolling, fans were left wondering, was this the end of the Frost marriage, or just the start of its most explosive chapter yet? The fallout was unlike anything Atlanta had ever seen. By the time Jasmine's studio photo had circulated across every gossip blog, Rashida couldn't walk through a grocery store without whispers following her. Paparazzi trailed her car, fans shouted "We love you, boss chick" outside her boutique, and every move she made became headline material. Yet behind the flawless makeup and carefully curated Instagram posts, Rashida was unraveling in silence. She sat in her bedroom one night, scrolling through old photos of her and Kirk. Their kids smiling and family portraits, vacations filled with forced grins, moments she once believed were unshakable. The tears came slowly, then all at once, because she knew those memories were built on sand. Meanwhile, Kirk was living in denial. He still believed, deep down, that Rashida wouldn't go through with it. She had forgiven him before. She had weathered public humiliation before, so why not this time? He convinced himself that time would smooth over the cracks, that if he just stayed quiet long enough, the storm would pass. But the world wasn't quiet. Fans were louder than ever. Memes depicting him as Atlanta's professional cheater flooded timelines. Late-night comedians dropped punchlines at his expense, and blogs began digging deeper into his past. What they found shocked even longtime fans: alleged side deals, rumors of hidden accounts, whispers of other women. Whether true or not, the narrative painted Kirk as a man who had been reckless with both his marriage and his legacy. Jasmine, on the other hand, basked in the spotlight but also bore the weight of it. She had spent years being labeled the villain, but now fans were split. Some hailed her as brave, finally exposing Kirk's double life, while others accused her of tearing apart a family for clout. She read the comments late into the night, glass of wine in hand, torn between satisfaction and exhaustion. Her son's laughter in the other room grounded her. "This is for you," she whispered, scrolling past thousands of comments. "One day you'll understand why I couldn't keep quiet." Then came the bombshell nobody expected. Court documents leaked to the press reel. Stamped papers confirming that Rashida had taken the first steps toward filing for divorce. The internet erupted instantly. Twitter trended with hashtags like #FrostDivorce, #BossChickStrong, and #KirkIsOverParty. Fans posted clips of Rashida's past confessions on the show, editing them into viral TikToks that framed her as the long-suffering queen finally reclaiming her throne. Within hours, media outlets beyond the entertainment blogs picked it up. CNN, Bet, and even mainstream morning shows reported on the Frost divorce saga as though it were a national scandal. Producers scrambled behind the scenes. Contracts were rewritten overnight, camera crews followed Rashida's every move, and executives promised the most explosive season finale in franchise history. One producer reportedly said, "We don't even need writers anymore, the Frosts are doing the work for us." And yet, even as the cameras rolled, there was a real family being torn apart. In a desperate bid to control the narrative, Kirk arranged an emotional sit-down with Jock and Scrappy, hoping to find allies who would stand by him. The meeting was tense. "Bro, you need to stop acting like the victim," Jock told him bluntly. "This ain't no little scandal. This is your whole marriage falling apart on TV. People done lost respect for you." Scrappy nodded in agreement. "The streets talking, Kirk. And when the streets turn on you, ain't no coming back. You better fix this or step aside." But Kirk, prideful as ever, shook his head. "They don't know the whole story. Y'all don't know the pressure I've been under." Jock leaned in, his voice low. "Nah man, we know enough. And so does Rashida." Rashida, meanwhile, had her own allies rallying behind her. Candy Buruz, longtime friend and powerhouse businesswoman, called her privately. "Girl, I know it's hard, but you gotta protect your brand. People are rooting for you. Don't let his mess define you. Let it fuel you." Rashida listened, quietly, her voice breaking as she responded. "I'm so tired, Candy. Tired of fighting. Tired of forgiving. Tired of proving I deserve better." Candy's tone softened. "Then stop fighting for him. Start fighting for you." The emotional toll spilled into filming. In one scene, Rashida broke down in front of castmates, admitting she didn't know how much longer she could keep her marriage intact. Cameras captured every tear, every sob, every raw confession. Fans watching at home would later call it the most real moment in love and hip-hop history. For once, the drama wasn't manufactured, it was painfully real. But Jasmine wasn't done. Days after the divorce papers leaked, she posted another piece of evidence, a recording of a phone call with Kirk, his voice unmistakable, begging her not to release certain information. "Please, Jasmine, don't do this," he pleaded. "You'll ruin everything for me. For Rashida, for the kids." Jasmine's voice was cold. "You already ruined everything, Kirk. I'm just showing the world what you did." The recording sent shockwaves across social media. Fans couldn't believe Jasmine had been holding on to such damaging evidence, and once again, Kirk was dragged mercilessly online. The Frost Empire teetered on the brink. Rashida's businesses, though supported by loyal fans, faced scrutiny. Would consumers still flock to her boutiques, knowing the scandal attached to her name? Would endorsements pull out? At the same time, Kirk's reputation in the music industry plummeted. Once seen as a businessman with hustle, he was now mocked as a cautionary tale of arrogance and betrayal. Even the children weren't spared. Kelsey, Kirk's daughter from a previous relationship, spoke out publicly, her voice shaking. "I'm tired of my family being embarrassed over and over again. At some point, it's not just about mom and dad, it's about all of us, and right now, it feels like none of us matter to him." Her words pierced deeper than any tabloid headline, showing fans that the scandal wasn't just TVIT, was real life unraveling before their eyes. By the time the reunion episode taped, the tension was unbearable. Rashida sat on one couch, stone-faced, refusing to look Kirk's way. Jasmine sat across, defiant but uneasy, knowing she had set in motion a war that could never be undone. Kirk, seated in the middle like a man on trial, shifted uncomfortably under the lights. The host wasted no time. "Rashida, are you officially done with this marriage?" The silence that followed was deafening. Fans leaned in closer to their screens, cast members held their breath, and Kirk's eyes pleaded silently for one more chance. Rashida finally spoke, her voice steady. "I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing: I'm not the same woman I was when this started. And I refuse to keep being broken." The audience erupted, fans online exploded, and the Frost saga cemented itself as the most talked about scandal in love and hip-hop history. And still, the story wasn't over. Rumors swirled of new revelations, secret deals, and alliances shifting in the background. The truth had come out, but the aftershocks were only just beginning. The reunion stage had barely cooled after Rashida's declaration when the aftershocks began to ripple across Atlanta. The audience left buzzing, crew members whispered in corners, and producers stared at one another with wide eyes, realizing they had just witnessed the kind of raw television that would be replayed for years. Kirk sat in silence long after the cameras cut, staring down at his hands as if the answers to all his mistakes might be carved into his palms. Jasmine left the stage first, flanked by security, her chin raised but her heart pounding, because, no matter how defiant she looked on camera, she knew she had painted herself into a corner. Rashida remained in her seat, unmoving, until the stage lights dimmed completely. Only then did she exhale, the weight of years of betrayal pressing into her chest until she could barely breathe. By the next morning, the world had already chosen sides. Some hailed Rashida as the ultimate survivor, a woman who had endured humiliation yet still stood tall. Others turned their gaze toward Jasmine, praising her for daring to confront the narrative head-on and refusing to be silenced any longer. And then there were the few, stubborn loyalists who still defended Kirk, claiming that he was being unfairly dragged and that all men in his position would have crumbled under the temptations of fame. The debates stretched across Twitter, Instagram, YouTube panels. Even podcasts that normally discussed politics or sports found themselves dissecting the Frost scandal as if it were national news. Inside the Frost household, the atmosphere was heavy with silence. Rashida moved through her home like a ghost, avoiding Kirk whenever he appeared, speaking only when the children asked her questions she couldn't avoid. Carter, confused and frightened, clung to his mother's side, his innocent eyes scanning the house for the warmth it once carried. Kirk tried to bridge the gap with small gestures, bringing flowers home, attempting to cook breakfast, offering soft apologies whispered at Rashida's closed bedroom door, but the damage had gone far beyond words. She no longer reacted, and perhaps worse for Kirk, she no longer cared to. Jasmine, though living on her own, faced her own struggles. While the internet buzzed with both praise and criticism, her reality was quieter, lonelier. Her phone rang constantly with requests for interviews, brand deals, and podcast appearances, but for every opportunity, there was also a hateful comment, a DM filled with venom. Fans reminding her that no matter what truth she told, some would never see her as anything but the woman who came between Kirk and Rashida. She sat one night, on her couch, her son asleep in the next room, scrolling through messages until she landed on one that stopped her cold. It was from an anonymous account, but the words pierced deeper than any insult. "You think you won. You think people love you now. Wait until they turn on you again. You'll always be the other woman. Nothing more." Jasmine set her phone down, tears pricking her eyes. Victory, she realized, had come with a price. Meanwhile, the producers plotted their next move. Meetings, stretched long into the night, with discussions about how to frame the fallout for maximum impact. One executive, his voice brimming with excitement, declared, "This isn't just TV, this is cultural history. The Frost saga is bigger than the show now. We need cameras everywhere, every store opening, every late-night meeting, every family dinner. We can't miss a second." Contracts were hastily renegotiated, paychecks grew larger, and whispers of a spin-off centered entirely around the Frost family began to circulate. But the spotlight that promised fame also carried fire. Rashida found herself stalked by paparazzi outside her boutique. Reporters asking invasive questions about whether she had officially filed for divorce, and fans begging her to confirm or deny Jasmine's claims. She kept her responses vague, carefully crafted, always circling back to her mantra: strength, family, and independence. Yet at night, when the cameras were gone, she broke down in solitude, clutching her pillow and asking herself if she had the strength to rebuild her life without the man who had both built and destroyed it. Kirk was unraveling faster than anyone could imagine. He drowned in liquor some nights, slurring apologies into his phone before passing out on the couch. Other nights, he paced the living room, muttering about betrayal, about producers exploiting his pain, about Jasmine ruining his legacy. He tried reaching out to Jock again, but Jock's patience had worn thin. "Bro, I can't keep bailing you out," Jock snapped over the phone. "You need to look in the mirror and face what you did. Stop blaming everybody else." For once, Kirk had no slick comeback. He hung up in silence, realizing he was running out of friends willing to defend him. The drama spilled over into family. Rashida's mother appeared on social media, fiery as ever, calling Kirk a disgrace and warning her daughter not to take him back under any circumstances. "A man who shows you who he is that many times don't deserve another chance," she said in a viral video that fans replayed endlessly. Kirk's older children also spoke out, with Kelsey posting a cryptic message on Instagram: "Loyalty isn't supposed to hurt this much." The comment sections filled with sympathy, fans praising Kelsey for speaking her truth even as her family tore apart in the public eye. But just when fans thought they had seen it all, another twist surfaced. A leaked audio clip, allegedly from behind the scenes of filming, captured Kirk in a heated argument with a producer. His voice was sharp, almost panicked. "Y'all set me up. Y'all wanted me to be the villain. You pushed Jasmine to expose me. This ain't reality, this is manipulation." The producer's calm reply only made things worse. "Kirk, you gave us the material. We didn't make you cheat, we just rolled the cameras." The leak went viral instantly, sparking debates about how much of the Frost saga was orchestrated by producers and how much was raw truth. Some fans sympathized with Kirk for the first time, while others argued he was simply dodging accountability yet again. Jasmine, seizing the moment, went live on Instagram to clarify. Her tone was calm but resolute. "Nobody made me do anything. I told my story because I was tired of being painted as a liar. Don't blame producers. Don't blame editing." Kirk's actions spoke for themselves. Thousands tuned in, flooding the comments with fire emojis and declarations of support. But lurking within the crowd were trolls, spamming snake emojis and reminding her that public opinion is fickle. Rashida watched the chaos unfold with a weary expression. Her lawyer urged her to move quickly, to finalize the divorce while public sympathy was on her side. But Rashida hesitated. Filing meant permanence. Filing meant an end to decades of history, an end to the empire she and Kirk had built together. Filing meant raising her children in a fractured home. One night, she stood at the edge of her bed, divorce papers spread out before her, pen in hand. Her hand trembled as she lowered the tip to the page, but at the last second, she pulled back. Not yet. She wasn't ready to close the book. The reunion aftermath bled into new filming sessions. Cast dinners became battlefields, with Carly stirring up conversations about the scandal, Bambi siding with Rashida, and Jock reluctantly trying to keep the peace. "We supposed to be a family," Jock muttered one night at the table. "But it feel like this family already dead." His words hung heavy in the air, uncomfortably true for everyone present. Fans devoured every leaked clip, every confession, every social media post. The Frost saga had transcended television. It had become a mirror for viewers everywhere. A messy, chaotic reflection of betrayal, resilience, and the human craving for truth. Every week, millions tuned in not just to watch, but to choose sides, to argue in comment sections, to feel invested in a story that was somehow both outrageous and painfully relatable. And still, more twists loomed on the horizon. Rumors swirled of a secret meeting between Rashida and Jasmine, away from cameras, away from producers. Whispers suggested they were no longer enemies, but reluctant allies, united in their exhaustion with Kirk's games. If true, it would flip the entire narrative upside down to women who had once been pitted against each other standing together in defiance of the man who had caused them both pain. Whether the rumor was true or not, fans clung to it, desperate for yet another shock in a saga that had already consumed them. By the time the season wrapped, Atlanta was left reeling. Rashida's future remained uncertain. Kirk's reputation lay in tatters, and Jasmine stood at the center of a firestorm that showed no signs of dying out. The truth had come out, yes, but in its wake, more lies, more questions, and more drama had risen to take its place. And for the millions watching, one thing was clear. This story was far from over. The rumor of Rashida and Jasmine meeting privately spread like wildfire. First whispered through cast group chats, then leaking onto fan pages, and finally exploding into gossip blogs. Shots of supposed text messages, blurry photos of two women who looked suspiciously like them sitting in a corner booth of an Atlanta lounge, began making the rounds. The internet couldn't decide whether it was real or just clever editing by fans desperate to stir more chaos. But the mere possibility that Rashida and Jasmine had come together, two women once pitted as enemies, was enough to send the fandom into meltdown. Kirk was blindsided. He scrolled through his phone in disbelief, his face pale as he read the captions. "If this is true," one fan wrote, "Kirk's days are done. Imagine your wife and your mistress plotting together." Another added, "Jasmine and Rashida teaming up. That's the Avengers-level crossover we didn't know we needed." Kirk threw his phone down in frustration, muttering to himself, "No way. She wouldn't." But deep down, fear gnawed at him, because if Rashida and Jasmine truly sat across from each other, if they truly compared notes, then every lie he had spun over the years would unravel in an instant. The truth was stranger than the rumor. It wasn't a flashy lounge or a paparazzi trap. Rashida agreed to meet Jasmine in the quiet back room of a friend's hair salon, long after hours, blinds drawn, lights low. Rashida sat with arms folded, her stare sharp as steel. Across from her, Jasmine leaned forward, nervous, but refusing to back down. The silence was suffocating, years of betrayal and resentment sitting heavy between them. Finally, Jasmine broke it. "I didn't ask for this, Rashida. I never asked to be in your life." But Kirk made promises. I believed him. I was stupid, but I wasn't the only one he played. Rashida's jaw clenched. "You think I don't know that? You think I haven't lived through his lies over and over? But you," she pointed at Jasmine, voice trembling, "you chose to stay in it. You didn't walk away." "I was young," Jasmine fired back. "I was manipulated. While you stood by him, I was raising a child in silence. I was the one eating the hate, the shame. Don't act like you were the only one suffering." The words stung. For the first time, Rashida saw Jasmine not as the enemy, but another casualty of Kirk's games. Her anger faded into resignation. "So what now? You want me to team up with you? Expose him together?" Jasmine shook her head. "I don't want revenge. I just want the truth out. I'm tired of hiding. If you are too, then maybe we stop letting him control the story." The air shifted. They weren't friends. They probably never would be. But they weren't enemies anymore. And when word of the secret meeting leaked, fans didn't need confirmation. They ran with it. Memes plastered Rashida and Jasmine shaking hands like political rivals turned allies. Captions screamed, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." The internet dubbed them the Frost Force, a tagline suggesting together they could finally bring Kirk to his knees. Kirk panicked. He tried to steal back control with a stunt-on-camera vow renewal. He rented a lavish venue, filled it with flowers, cameras, even a pastor. He lured Rashida there under the guise of business. When she walked in, Kirk dropped to his knees. "Rashida," he declared, "I know I've failed you. I know I've hurt you. But I want to prove to the world I still love you, that I'm still your husband, your forever." Rashida froze. Cameras zoomed in on her face, waiting. Then, without a word, she turned and walked out. The clip leaked within hours. Fans mocked Kirk mercilessly. He thought she'd say yes. After all that, delusional. Others praised Rashida. That was her queen moment. "Walk away, sis. Walk away." Jock couldn't resist clowning. On Instagram Live, he acted it out with a fake bouquet, falling to his knees as his girlfriend howled with laughter. This how Kirk be looking every season. Jock joked. The comments exploded. Even Yandi slipped in a jab. Sometimes the biggest apology is silence. Kirk unraveled. On set, he lashed at producers. You want me to look like the bad guy? Forever. They fired back. Hot mic catching every word. You gave us the story. Kirk, we just filmed it. Another viral moment. Another nail in his coffin. Meanwhile, Rashida thrived. She launched a new clothing line, empowering slogans, boutiques overflowing with supporters. Fans called her the real star of Atlanta, the woman who turned pain into power. She hinted at divorce without confirming, letting her silence say everything. Then, the late-night bombshell. An anonymous Instagram account dropped alleged court papers. Hidden accounts. Undeclared assets. Secret businesses. Money trails linking directly back to Kirk. Not just hush money, a whole web of dealings. Fans went wild. Forget love and hip-hop, this about to turn into Law and Order. Atlanta. Kirk denied it all, blaming haters. But his shaky statement fell flat. Memes drowned him out. The streets buzzed, and as the season finale drew near, promos teased the ultimate showdown. A manila envelope sliding across the table. Gasps. Kirk storming out. The narrator promising, the Frost saga isn't over. But the truth will finally be revealed. When cameras rolled again, the air was electric. Cast holding their breath. Producers whispering about a twist no one saw coming. Rashida sat calm. Jasmine fidgeted. Kirk boiled. The host leaned forward. Rashida, are you ready to end this chapter once and for all? She inhaled deeply, eyes locked on Kirk. I'm not here to end a chapter. I'm here to rewrite the book. She slid the envelope across. Kirk opened it, face drained of color. Cast leaned forward, cameras zooming. Rashida sat steady. You built your empire on lies. And now, everyone's about to see the receipts. The screen cut to black. To be continued. Fans screamed. What's in the envelope? Atlanta had never seen chaos like it. And the world was hooked, so now, it's your turn. Do you believe Rashida is finally walking away? Or will Kirk find a way to pull her back in? Was Jasmine speaking her truth? Or chasing her spotlight? And that envelope, was it court papers, bank records, or a bombshell secret ready to flip the entire story upside down? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you Team Rashida, Team Jasmine, or do you think Kirk deserves redemption? Hit that like button if you've been living for this saga. Subscribe now, because if you thought this was explosive, the next chapter is going to leave you stunned. Turn on your notifications. The truth isn't finished, and the Frost saga, it's only getting started.